Chapter 23. A hard jolt shook the APC, and it dropped in freefall for a second. Billy felt a moment of nausea. She'd never done particularly well in zero gravity. Her stomach was twisted in what felt like a continuous drop from a great height. Then the little ship's wings caught the atmosphere again, weight returned, and she swallowed as her belly recovered its composure. "That's the worst of it," Wilkes said. "We're on a long glide path to the place now. Might hit a few clouds on the way, get a little chop, but that's pretty much it." Billy nodded, not speaking. Would it be too late? Would Mitch still be alive? As much as anybody, Billy knew the dangers of the enemies her lover faced. Whatever their motivation, they were killing machines, and if they cared about their own deaths, it never showed. Survival of the species was the thing. Individuals didn't seem to matter much. Not like people. Not like people at all. "How long?" 30 minutes, give or take. We have to glide in, so we'll have enough juice to escape velocity and make it back to the ship." Billy nodded again. There was not much to say about that. There was a side passage to Bueller's left, and he put 30 rounds down it as he drew level with it, hosing the carbine back and forth at waist level. He really couldn't afford the ammo. He only had one more magazine, but the side corridor was dark, and he didn't want any nasty surprises. He got one anyhow. The automatic fire should have chopped any of the aliens standing between the knees and hips. Probably it did, but one of them must have been hanging on the ceiling or stretched out on the floor. As soon as the burst of fire ended, the thing jumped out. Bueller wasn't taking anything for granted, so he still had his weapon held ready, but the thing leapt as he fired again, flew like a missile at him. Bueller's reactions were fast. It wouldn't matter how many rounds hit the damn thing, inertia would keep it coming. Bueller didn't have time to think. He dropped, slammed flat onto the slimy hot floor, and the alien missed him by centimeters. Mobutu yelled as the thing barreled into her. Blake fired, but the monster and Mobutu were entwined, and as good as Blake was, she couldn't stop the acid flow her shot caused. The spewing wound drenched Mobutu's face. She instinctively opened her mouth to scream. The thing was dying, but it pumped enough of the corrosive blood onto Mobutu so she would join it shortly. Maybe she might have survived were she in a full-ride military medicator, but she'd never make it that far. Her cheeks and nose were a smoking ruin, her throat and lungs already being eaten away. She would drown in her own fluids. Bueller scrambled up. Mobutu made a strangled noise halfway between a moan and a plea. He knew what she wanted. He couldn't ask Blake to do it. Bueller pointed his carbine, tapped the trigger once. The bullet in her brain ended Mobutu's suffering. Blake nodded. "Thanks," she said. Bueller had trouble drawing enough air to breathe. He shuddered. 2 of them left. "There it is," Wilkes said. The front view screens gave a better picture than the ports, but Billy stared through the clear shields, preferring the reality. The mound sprawled upon the ground like a malignant tumour, dull grey in the light of the local sun. It was a desolate landscape, cleared around the hive of everything but dust and rock. "I'm going to put down on that little ridge," Wilkes said. "We can use the ship's guns better on the high ground, and we'll be able to see them coming, and anything that might be chasing them." She looked at him. "Still too much interference," he said. "Something in the walls is blocking the comm signal." "I could go," Billy began. "No, you can't." "Man, oh man," Blake said. "I'm definitely crossing this place off my vacation list. It stinks in here." The winding corridor had provided them with more attackers, but it was wide enough that the red eyes let them see in time. Bueller and Blake took the aliens out as soon as they spotted them. It had almost gotten to the point of target shooting for Bueller. He'd switched to semi-auto to conserve ammo. He had about 80 rounds left, but also had Mobutu's plasma rifle slung over his shoulder. Things could be worse. A large archway loomed. "Signal is coming from in there," Blake said. "Less than 50 meters." "The hatching room," Bueller said. Yeah, let's do it. The heat intensified as they neared the archway. The air thickened even more with stench and high humidity. It felt like the inside of a steam bath, full of rotting corpses. Beulah darted through the opening, Blake backing in behind him, her rifle pointed to the rear. There they are, he said. 4 people, 3 men and a woman, webbed to the walls in that gauzy, spidery goo the things used. The garbage can-sized eggs sat impassively on the floor. There was no sign of the Queen, no other drones around. It was quiet enough so Beulah could hear his own breathing. The 2 of them moved quickly. This one is dead, Blake said, her fingers on the carotid of one of the women. This one too, Beulah said. One of them was alive though. The Marines tore away the sticky webbing. The eggs next to the man were still closed. He hadn't been implanted yet. He came to as they were dragging him free of the web. He screamed. Easy, easy, Blake said. It's okay, we got you. Fear had stolen his words. The man tried to speak, stammered, gave up. Can you walk? He nodded, still mute. Then let's make tracks, fast, understand? He nodded again. The 3 of them started for the chamber's exit. When they reached it, Beulah stopped. Blake raised an eyebrow at him. What? I'll just leave them a couple of grenades for a going-away present, he said. He hit-pointed his carbine and launched 3 rounds fast, so the first explosion was still expanding as the second and third rounds flew. The sound was deafening, despite the spike muters the Marines wore. Go! Go! They ran. Wilkes touched a control on the sensor board. Got seismic activity in there. Looks like somebody fired some explosive armament. M40s, probably. They're still alive, Billy said. Maybe. We have to do something. We are doing something. We're waiting. Won't help anybody if we don't have a way off this damned rock. In 5 hours, this whole planet is going to get hammered flat as the oceans on Jupiter. We don't want to be here then. To your left, Beulah yelled. Blake, cool as liquid oxygen, turned and painted the corridor green with her plasma. The withering beams cooked the onrushing alien drones like crabs under their shells. Fluid boiled from their joints in deadly steam, but far enough away so there was no damage to the Marines or the crewmen. Eat hot plasma death, alien scum, Blake said. Beulah stared at her. I always wanted to say that, she said. She smiled. He shook his head, but he shared her feeling. Against all the odds, they were nearing the exit to this nightmare. Less than 100 meters away, the harsh daylight of the planet spilled into the mound, giving them a light at the end of a very dangerous tunnel. Almost there, Beulah said. Can you make it? The crewman finally found his voice. I'll make it. Just keep those bastards off us. The last 30 meters were the worst. It was clear, no drones in front of them, but the run for the way out filled Beulah with hope that they might actually make it after all, and it was too soon for that kind of optimism. Still, they reached the mouth of the tunnel. Hello, sunshine, Blake said, as they stepped out of the mound. Beulah had the tail. He kept his weapon and his gaze behind them, but the pressure of the light on his bare skin felt as good as anything ever had. Blake said, Son of a bitch! Our ride is here! There's the APC! Beulah spared a glance. Yes, there it was, on a slight ridge 500 meters away. Blake laughed. Let's go home, folks! Beulah managed a chuckle. There was something wonderful about the air, bad as it was, and aside from Billy, he'd never seen anything quite as beautiful as that combat camo dropship perched almost within spitting distance. I hear that, he said. Move out, I'll cover our asses. Blake led the crewmen down the incline from the mound along the dusty trail. There they are, Wilkes said, his voice quiet and edgy. Billy jerked around, too far away to tell by direct visual who they were. 3 of them, 2 moving down the slope to the mound's entrance, 1 standing guard behind them. Billy reached for the view enhancer, tapped the magnification up, looked at the screen. The one in the entrance was Mitch, alive. Only 3 of them left, Wilkes said. 2 Marines and 1 crewman. Billy didn't care. One of them was Mitch. He was okay. That was all that mattered. "First squad, this is Wilkes. You copy?" A woman's voice came back. "Glad you could drop by, Sarge, but I think the party's over. What say we pack it in and junk this place?" "Yeah," Wilkes said. "Hurry up, Blake. The meter is running. On our way." Mitch heard the comm and grinned. He stared into the darkness of the mound's gaping mouth. He started backing away, weapon still trained on the entrance. "Hey, Billy," he said into his comm. "Hope you kept it warm for me." "Come and get it," Billy said. He half turned to look at the APC, the smile bright and happy. A mistake. The alien must have been waiting in the darkness for some break in Bueller's attention. It came clattering out, claws scraping and digging into the rocky surface as it cleared the entrance, arms extended, teeth revealed in a moray eel's needle grin. Bueller twisted, swung the carbine around, slipped on a loose piece of rock, shifted off balance to his left. The carbine's barrel dropped, just a hair, as he fired. Fired and missed. He tried to correct his aim. The thing was almost on top of him, and he only needed to point shoot. But he was too slow. It crossed its hands, grabbed him, digging one steel-hard claw into his ribs, the other on the opposite side, just under his hip. Talons bit deep. The carbine flew from Bueller's grip. He tried to draw the slug pistol. "Mitch!" Billy screamed from his comm. The alien flexed muscles hidden under its exoskeleton, cords filled with power a score of times stronger than a man could manage. Bueller felt the pain burn through his waist, a shattering bolt that short-circuited all his systems, filling him like a sudden plunge into molten aluminium. He managed to scream, then felt the unendurable shock as the thing tore him in half at the waist. Billy saw the parts of Bueller fall, saw his hips and legs fly one way, his upper body another, tumbling, and the white circulating fluid, not red blood, white, spraying like a milky fountain into the air under the alien sun.